So you thought you would come home to a clean house, a cooked meal, everything would be done, you could come home and relax, and life would be great, right? Well, that's not always how it works. That was an expectation you had. And unfortunately, those are oftentimes a good chunk of why we see depression, sadness, regret, resent, anger, all of those feelings wrapped up. Because when we expect something from somebody without doing it ourselves, then we are setting ourselves up for failure. We might not always get that expectation. Expectations are huge. They play a huge part in relationships. They play a huge part in jobs. In parenting, in daily life, you know, and those expectations normally fill us up with happiness when we're getting that expectation met. Like, oh, hey, we're going to do this, and this is going to happen. But as soon as something doesn't happen as you expected, you start feeling a negative effect from that. So what's the problem with that? Well, it's a negative effect. Your expectations are normally for somebody else or something else to make you happy, right? Well, that can't be the case. Like you can only make yourself happy. So when you don't set expectations, you're not allowing yourself to go to the possibility of being let down, right? We think a lot of times like I talk with people all the time. Well, I expected them to listen and I expected them to do what I said and I expected them to care and I expected them to do this and I expected them to do that. But what did you expect from yourself? Like, what expectation did you have of yourself? Because the list isn't going to be that long. Okay. And so what happens is then when things aren't done as you expected, so he doesn't love me the way I thought he would. I thought he would want to be with me all the time and never go out and leave me at home. Well, honey, because we didn't communicate our expectations, he didn't get the chance to tell you that's not how it's going to be. So, communication's back to square one where we need to be, you know? When we talk about, when I have parents in and I expect them to listen and do all their chores and to never talk back and to not do this. Really? So, did you have those same behaviors? Did you tell them that's what you expected of them? Did you set proper expectations for them? Don't expect something without communication because you're setting yourself up for failure. You're also setting the others up for failure. You're setting the others to believe that they did something wrong, that it's their fault. Because when you come in and your expectations weren't met, you tend to get angry, say things, or do things, or become very resentful and treat others different. And those behaviors rub off on the other person, and they're like, "I didn't know. I had no idea. I had no idea." So therefore, expectations need to be discussed. I have said it a million times, and a million times I will continue to say communication is the key to everything in life. Okay. If I tell somebody, hey, I expect that, when I'm talking, that you're not going to interrupt me and that you're not going to talk back and that you will tell me how you feel. That's me setting their expectation. Right? And when they're like, "No, I can't do that because I don't want to tell you how I feel all the time," or whatever the case may be, you've given them a chance to open that up to where you're not getting yourself set up and they're not getting set up just because they didn't know anything. Okay. Um, I think that we all become so comfortable in what's happening, like for example, I'll just use me. I expect when I come home that my lights will, be on and William will cook dinner and life will be hunky dory, the house will be cleaned. What an unreasonable expectation. Why is that unreasonable? Because I didn't talk to him about it. I didn't say, "Hey, when I come home, can you make sure that this outside light is on and that dinner's cooked and I am, that everything is just perfect for the night so that when I come home, I have to do absolutely nothing?" If I don't communicate those wants or needs or desires with him, why am I expecting him to read my mind? Why am I expecting him to read my mind? And that's how it is in every situation. Okay. Um, the issue is that when we expect something to happen, then that expectation doesn't happen. The feelings and the emotions that come with it, we don't know how to process normally. Therefore, it causes a danger, period. To emotional statuses, that becomes a danger. It also creates it to where, trust is involved. Well, when you've inspected, when you've expected, for example, your kids to have their room clean and to do this and to do that, their chores, and they don't have it done, you then start saying, well, I can't trust you. You didn't do what I said. Well, you didn't put anywhere in paper where or words that said what they need to be doing, you know? And we have to remember how we feel. Think about a time where you had a boss that expected you to come to work early, stay late, do this, and this that weren't part of your job description. Okay. They expected it. You didn't do it because you didn't know it wasn't in your job description, right? So you don't do it. Well, then the next day when you come in, because you stayed later than he did already, he's like, well, you didn't get here early enough yesterday, and you didn't get this, and this done. And I just don't know if I can trust you anymore. What? But I didn't know. I'm sorry. I had no idea. Well, the person that has that expectation set on them is now freaking feeling worthless, like a failure, like they've done something wrong, like it's their fault, right? And again, if expectations aren't communicated, there's nobody that can be doing that because there's no reason to blame anybody when you didn't share anything. Like if I'm getting a rule book that says my job description is A, B, C, D, E, and you wanted me to do F through Z, well, I'm gonna say that, wow, I'm sorry, I didn't know you didn't put that there, or you didn't even ask, you know? Um, I think we have a lot of expectations that we don't think about, and we, have a lot of those set on, like I said, friends, family, and you expect your friends to come forward if you have something going on. But if you don't tell them there's something going on, they're not going to know. So how would you expect them to do anything? Right? Like for real. I didn't tell a lot of people when I had a stroke. I didn't expect them to show up. Hell, I didn't even expect the ones that I did tell to show up because who wants to be around that? But there's people that live on that expectation, you know? And so we have to really just think about what expectations are, how we can help with the reducing the problems that are wrapped around them, how we can create better situations to where we don't fill ourselves with doubt and resentment and anger and mistrust. We need to really think about what we can do. So I'm just going to give you an example, a perfect way to set expectations and a perfect view. Okay. Again, this is just a perfect way. It's not saying this is going to go easy this way every time. So, when you have kids and you want them to do chores, right? You expect them as a teenager to keep their room clean, do their laundry, take out their trash, right? Well, up until, that now you've just done it for them. And then you're like, hey, you're going to need to clean your room. And that's all that's said, right? You got to clean your room. And then you come home and you're like, the laundry's not done, the trash isn't out. You start nicking on everything that you expected them to do. And in reality, all you've done is set them up for failure because you didn't tell them that you've washed the laundry and you didn't tell them everything you do. Clean the bathroom, no, you did not tell them. No, you expected them to know that cleaning your room meant doing everything that you want them to do. So what do we got to do? When we say, "Hey, we're gonna need you to start cleaning your own room." So when I clean your room, what I do is I take out the trash, I clean the toilet, I scrub your shower, I do your laundry, make your bed, whatever it is. You have to tell them exactly what you do, right? So that night goes by and the next day you come home from work and they've done a few things, but not everything. But you expected it to be done because you told them that what you exactly wanted. Well, guess what? They're learning and you expected them to do it right off the bat, right? So now your kid's now getting the whole, you didn't do it right. That's not what I said to do. Well, you know what? What we could do is we could cut that whole piece out. First of all, we could say, "Hey, you're going to need to start cleaning your room, and this is what I do, and what I'll do is write it down for you so that you know exactly what to do." The kid can say, "Well, I don't know how to clean the toilet, mom." "Oh, okay, well, let me teach you." Right? You've then got communication from parent to child that says, "Hey, this is what I would like you to do. This is how I do it." And it lets the person that you have that expectation on to say, "But I don't know what that is." And then we avoid all of the anger, all of the feelings of, worthlessness, all the times that you say, "Well, I can't even trust them to clean their room right." Well, they didn't even know how to clean their room right, ma'am. So let's work on that. Let's work on expectations and let's work on how we set proper expectations because it's okay to set expectations. You just have to properly communicate them. You have to know that person A and person B are on the same page. You have to know that you have worked together to create that expectation and you've done your part to let them know what their part of that expectation is. You can't just assume that they will know. You can't expect them to read your mind. Okay. So I take this into a relationship wise because I feel like there's a lot of expectations on relationships, whether it be sexual, whether it be intimacy, whether it be how much you work or how much you provide into the house or whatever it does. I think there's been a lot of expectations put upon it. For example, I mean, people expect the men to be the provider and the woman to stay home and stay with the kids, right? Well, that's a false expectation. It's a false narrative. And unmet expectations, nah, they just cause a lot of problems. So if you're a man and you want a woman who's to stay home, cook, clean, and take care of the house, maybe instead of saying, "Hey, you're going to quit your job and you're going to do this after you move her in," maybe that should be part of the communication before, right? Just like if you're a woman and you're wanting to be independent and you don't want to depend solely on them and you want to work outside of the house, it's your job to talk to them. Because when we do not raise our voice, when we do not talk about what we feel about a situation, we allow those expectations to be created. And when I say that expectations can be a big reason of depression, I am not lying. Because again, when unmet expectations are there, you see the anger, the sadness, the self-worthlessness, the talking down on ourselves, the negative thought processes, the resentment, insecurities. There's so much that boils with it. So my concern would be is that we are taking this for what it is and we are saying communication will resolve so many things. Okay. I had a client at one point that, really expected full heartedly her children to enjoy coming to therapy like she does and to tell every secret they have just like she does and to be okay with it. And the reality of is that was just her expectation. She didn't talk to them about it. She said, "Hey, we're going to go to therapy." What did that mean to them? She has no idea. She had no idea, but she did know that she expected them to go and not have a problem with it. Well, that's a setup for failure, and here I am in the middle of session trying to, be the referee. Hey, whoa, 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 because the parents feeling this and the kids are like, what the hell? What are we doing? You know? So it's important that we really think about what we are setting ourselves up for and what we are setting others for. And if you're one that has a lot of problems with feeling, unhappy because of expectations, sit down and think about what you've done to improve that. You know, how have you helped a situation by expecting somebody to do something? What have you done to change that outcome? Okay. I know that we all have those hidden expectations, like for Valentine's Day, we expect candies, or, for Christmas, we expect gifts. Those are things that, are pretty common because of the way we grew up or what what happened in our lives. But let's talk about even those simple ones, you know? It would be hard because, like, if William and I hadn't talked this year about, "Hey, we're not gonna do any gifts, we're gonna do something for each other or with each other," like, if had we not expected that or expected that set that expectation, then we would have been sitting there going, "Oh god, oh god, oh god." It would have been such chaos and just craziness trying to figure out what we're doing, and then we have one person that's not even gonna put anything under the tree. You got 2 people that are just like, "Whoops." So it's important that we use that tool that we're given, that communication that we're giving so that we can talk to people about that. Even the littlest things, you know, the littlest things. And guys, if your parents and you're saying, well, they still don't get it, write it down. Write it down. Don't expect them to do it. Write it down. Let them know and learn because you've taught them and you talked to them and you communicated with them and you let them process it. Okay. So, two things out of this: communication is always key. I will always say that. And be aware of your expectations and how they're going to affect you and others. So, that's it for tonight. But I do want to thank you guys for watching. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll be back.